I love conspiracy theorists because they look at the crisis caused by constant profit seeking and they just go, there's got to be something out there. Let me keep drinking my raw milk. I'm sure I'll find the answers there. And these guys also masquerade as though they're like a reputable news outlet that has some semblance of independence as well because they're online. What is this? Anti-DEI is just becoming an accepted way to be racist, to be sexist. You can't as openly say you don't want women in that field or that you don't want black people. You can say DEI and mean all that because you're too pussy to openly be a bigot. It's weird that dunking on firefighters during a massive fire is what right-wing culture warriors have decided is the best expression of their politics. Starting to think that anti-wokeness has become the new mind virus. I mean, starting to think that, Leighton. I mean, welcome back to reality. Leighton Woodhouse is a former Intercept journalist. He's a former Intercept reporter. Him and a couple of these other guys like made this crazy, I wouldn't say like pivot, but they definitely, lost the plot a little bit. This dude used to do fantastic work on white nationalists and stuff like that. Like white nationalists and radicalization online, and then Lee Fang and him, and I've interviewed Lee as well, and Lee still does fantastic work when it comes to like corporate lobbying and whatnot. But they did kind of lose their minds a little bit on wokeness and how annoying it is and how annoying wokes are. And they kind of did that for the past 4 years. And now, I mean, they never really stopped doing good journalism in the process, which is interesting. Like they still continue to do good journalism on their own personal, the subject that they cover, their own beats. Like Lee has never stopped doing great journalism when it comes to corporate lobbying. But, there are definitely a lot of, there's just like a couple things that I have serious disagreements with them on. And regardless of those disagreements, I still obviously appreciate the work that they put out there. And I'm glad that Leighton is seeing that, like, yeah, the culture warriors have been brain broken for quite some time. Yes, liberals get annoying. Okay, liberals do get annoying and have a tendency to be extra annoying and unproductive and engage in like purity spirals or whatever. But this is like unrestricted, unfettered, racism and sexism. That's all it is. Like, look at this. Yeah, dude, we're not dunking on firefighters. We're just criticizing their leaders. Like, look at that. Yeah, the real woke mind virus has always been right-wing nonsense. Anyway, what is this? Call me a conspiracy theorist, but there is no way that 8 different fires starting within a period of 48 hours in LA is due to climate change. Yeah. Laughing at clown world during the collapse of the Western society. Stop geoengineering. Stop mRNA. Reject woke ideology. No wars. Conspiracy realist. Coincidence analyzer.
Theorist, but there is no way that 8 different
she is huffing on that raw milk. She is drinking that unpasteurized Garbo right now, okay?
fires starting within a period of 48 hours in LA is due to climate change. You want to tell me that insurance companies canceling people's policies in these areas over the past few months, officials cutting firefighting funding, emptying water reservoirs, and being more concerned.
I love conspiracy theorists because they look at the crisis caused by constant corner cutting, profit seeking, budget reductions, and austerity due to capitalism. Okay. And they just go, there's got to be something out there. There's got to be a real crazy, not systemic factor at play here. Okay. Let me keep drinking my raw milk. I'm sure I'll find the answers there. It's always so funny. It's like they are so goddamn close. They are so close to kind of recognizing what's going on. It's a joke. She is fun. Check her interviews and podcasts. You think this person is joking? They have a homesteading account. They're selling healing powers of tallow.
After the
letting the people of Hawaii, North Carolina, and now LA rot in these post-apocalyptic scenes while they funnel away our tax dollars to foreign countries. Look at the milk stain on her chin. It's definitely a joke. I don't think she's joking. And I don't think 48,000 people clicked on the like on this tweet because they were like, haha, this is a funny joke. I don't think she's joking at all.
About sending aid to another country is just coincidence? Okay. Call me the fires. North Carolina, after the floods, supposedly received roughly $2 billion for disaster recovery. And now we have LA with Joe pledging 100% rebuild costs, just like he did with North Carolina. He even said with North Carolina, "I'm here to say the United States, the nation, has your back. We're not leaving until you're back on your feet completely." So how is that going for the people of Hawaii or North Carolina? Because they are not back up on their feet. They even had to pay property taxes on properties that don't exist anymore, and they are still living in tents. Is it possible that these events are just part of a massive land grab for things like 15-minute smart cities?
The American century of humiliation is upon us, and it's a self-inflicted wound. The American century of domination is over before the century even ends. Okay? We couldn't make it into the 40s. We could not have 100 years of pure domination. It's done. The American century of humiliation is upon us, even though we are the hegemon. This is a self-inflicted wound born out of profit-seeking parasitic forces that have consistently undermined education, that have destroyed this country. Wow. The Burger Reich is shitting and farting itself to death. It's so bad. That fake journalist who went to the empty reservoir earlier and just asked questions and did not answer any is basically just doing TikTok brain like this girl here, but just a little bit more official. Yeah.
And you may be thinking that $2 billion is a lot for disaster recovery, but just a few weeks ago, Joe pledged almost $6 billion to be sent to here, bringing the total amount of aid sent to here around $175 billion that we know of. And you still think your elected officials care about you? Okay.
I like that chatters were convinced that this person is so insane that it must be satire. That's cool. Hi. All right, we're gonna get to the looting in a second. This is something that Elon Musk just retweeted as well. We pretend to work, they pretend to pay us. Old Soviet Union phrase. Infrastructure failing as absentee staff declare more time, more money. A fire chief focused on human sexuality. A mayor luxuriating in a presidential palace in a foreign country. Symptoms of a common broken system. This is from Barry Weiss's Free Press, which of course is also multi-billionaire backed. Remember, the Free Press is Barry Weiss's institution alongside the Austin University or whatever, the University of Austin, or the fake PragerU style unaccredited institution that she created. Basically, these guys are trying to create their own quote unquote independent outlet online when they're still heavily funded by the same billionaires. It's a grift. Okay. So what are they doing? What is Free Press doing in this crisis? What are they doing? Oh, that's right. They're cutting propaganda. Let's take a look.
Water to put out the Palisades fire. This is the Santa Ynez Reservoir. It's the water supply basically for the Palisades. When they first started fighting the Palisades fire, they ran out of water extremely quickly. Wednesday, 3 a.m., they were basically out. And there's been a lot of talk on why this happened. So how long has this reservoir been empty for?
Since February of last year. There was no communication from the Department of Water and Power to LAFD that there was a water supply issue.
The firefighters, when they started fighting the fires, no one informed them that the reservoir was empty. This reservoir holds 117 million gallons of...
It's what's crazy about this part of the story is like, yeah, the reservoir is empty because of a thing that your donors don't want, okay? The reservoir is empty because of a thing that your donors don't want to recognize. The thing that like the foreign press, the Free Press's donors don't want to recognize, which is a historically dry wet season that was supposed to bring in at least some semblance of rain, but it never did.
Water. The fire department was using a water
And I'm not even entirely certain that like the fire hydrant water is coming from this reservoir anyway.
supply from 3 backup tanks, each one only holding 1 million gallons of water.
They say it's closed for maintenance to repair the lid that's on top of it. I don't know a lot about reservoir maintenance, but there's literally no...
Wait, what do you mean you don't know a lot about reservoir maintenance? So why are you covering this story? So all you did was just drive over to the reservoir and just show that it's like dumped out? You're not doing journalism then. Investigate, man. Figure it out. Like, this doesn't actually end up informing me at all. It ends up deluding people further.
construction materials or vehicles anywhere in sight. Also, with a reservoir like this, you can refill it or start to refill it. So another question is, if they saw the Santa Ana winds were coming and we have this remarkably dry wet season, why was there no attempt to start refilling it back up? I know I threw a lot out there, but I think we need...
Okay, these are great questions. If you are a real journalist, your job is to either A, go to Gavin Newsom's office and direct Gavin Newsom with these questions, or B, go to people that work in water management, either in the state of California or outside of the state of California, and direct these questions at knowledgeable people to find out what the answer is, rather than leaving it as a question in your commentary where the initial hypothesis is that there's mismanagement about. I don't really understand it, but I'm simply asking questions. Like, you're not a journalist if you do this. You are supposed to not leave these questions. The point of journalism is not to just go, oh, I'm just curious. It's to actually, appease the curiosity that people have. It's to actually go and ask the people who are in positions of power those exact same questions. It's to do some kind of research ahead of time so that when they actually respond to you, you can figure out the inconsistencies in their answers and direct secondary questions. That's what journalism is supposed to be. Can you imagine the old adage of journalism is a journalist's duty is not to hear from one party that it is raining outside and another party that it's not raining outside, and then just write it as though both sides are saying, different things about the rain. A journalist's duty is to open the window and look outside if it's raining or not. Okay? This is akin to basically not even doing any of those things and simply stating, people have a lot of questions on whether it's raining or not outside. I have those questions as well. Homosexuals say that it's not raining outside. What do you guys think? You didn't do journalism. It's so frustrating. And these guys also masquerade as though they're like a reputable news outlet that has some semblance of independence as well, because they're online. Yeah, independent media, by the way. Uber also plans to host an inauguration party in Washington with Elon Musk's ex-social media firm and the Free Press, a media company. OpenAI, Meta, Uber CEOs attend Trump's inauguration events, and the Free Press is also going to be there as well. They're throwing parties. I wonder how that works for their supposed independent status. What a day to be alive for truth-telling. Can ocean waters used to fight fires? Just a question. I know the corrosive long time, but if there's an emergency, yes, and they do use ocean water. The problem with ocean water is that it ends up drying the land even further, so it's a much larger fire risk down the line. It also has the capacity to corrode the fire engines, like the people that are down there that are fighting the fires. It's literally a last resort, which is why it's still devastating. But people have been using that right now. Corrosiveness isn't the bad part. It's salting the earth. I already said that. It's salting the earth, which ends up creating drier vegetation, more fuel down the line. But outside of that, it also is corrosive to everything that's down there, including but not limited to the equipment that's down there. It's a massive issue. It's a massive issue, but it's a last ditch resort. Virtually every single authority on this has basically stated that California has above average water supply. despite the historically dry rain season that we've seen. Like in the reservoirs, there is above average water supply across the board. Opening up additional waterways or damming existing natural waterways to redirect water down to Southern California has been a long-term Trump agenda item. Okay? They want this specifically for additional agricultural output. They don't care about the devastating impact that it will have on the natural habitat. It's not just about smelt. Okay? It's not just about like protecting smelt. It's about ruining a delicate ecosystem specifically so you can have more green golf courses and more agricultural business. Okay? As far as I understand, in 2019, Donald Trump actually tried to push for here. Trump claimed Newsom refused to sign a water restoration declaration that he said he would have directed millions of gallons of water to areas now burning, alleging he prioritized a small fish called smelt over residents. In response, Newsom's office said there's no such document as the water restoration declaration. That's pure fiction. Trump appeared to reference his administration's 2019 proposal to redirect water from the Sacramento-San Joaquin River Delta to Central Valley farms and Southern California urban areas. I want to repeat this again. He wants to redirect the Sacramento-San Joaquin River Delta to Central Valley farms and SoCal urban areas. California officials and environmentalists successfully sued to challenge it in part because they argued that the rules would endanger wildlife in the Delta, including the smeltfish. In December, President Biden's administration, in cooperation with Newsom, endorsed new regulations they said will allow more water to be pulled from the Delta to Southern California while also protecting local wildlife. An official who helps oversee Southern California's water supply refuted Trump's claim that these proposed changes could have mitigated the wildfires. Mark Gold, the water scarcity director for the Natural Resources Defense Council and member of the Metropolitan Water District Board that provides water to 19 million people in Southern California, told CBS News, the issues have nothing to do with what amount of water we have stored within the region. The Metropolitan Water District has a record amount of water stored at this time. Isn't the streaming wars? What? Southern California has ample water supply after previous years of decent rains, Gold said. But the lack of rain in the region in recent months dried out the vegetation. Okay? Something Trump's proposal wouldn't have helped with. What happened has nothing to do with protecting the Bay Delta and how water is being managed there. Then they talk about the no water in the fire hydrants. Los Angeles officials face fierce criticism after some fire hydrants ran dry in parts of the Pacific Palisades overnight from Tuesday into Wednesday. Janice Quinones, chief executive and chief engineer of the LA Department of Water and Power, said at a Wednesday press conference that all 1 million gallon water tanks in the area ran dry by 3 a.m., reducing water pressure for fire hydrants at higher elevations. Quinones said the tanks, which supply pressure from the hydrants in the hilly Palisades, couldn't refill fast enough as firefighting efforts drained water faster than the main trunk line could supply it. LA Fire Department Captain Eric Scott said that the LA DWP proactively filled all available water storage tanks before the fires began. It followed some widely shared claims on social media that officials had refused or failed to fill all the tanks. Mark Pastrella, director of the LA County Department of Public Works, said that the municipal water systems for the impacted areas were overworked, partly because firefighters were unable to use air support due to high winds and poor visibility. This was at nighttime. It is the worst possible way that this could have gone down. Okay? They could not use aerial support to use helicopters and planes as well as they wanted to try to stop some of the wildfires that were ravaging. I repeat once again, you cannot combat a fire tornado with fire hydrants. Okay? You can't do that. Especially when you got 50 to 80 mile winds carrying embers everywhere. It was a fire cane. The municipal water systems that service our homes and businesses continue to work effectively. However, they are not designed to fight wildfires. That's it. A firefight with multiple fire hydrants drawing water from the system for several hours is unsustainable. This is a known fact. In a statement, Newsom said he was calling for an independent investigation into the loss of water pressure for local fire hydrants and the reported unavailability of water supplies from the Santa Ynez Reservoir. The Santa Ynez Reservoir, a 117 million gallon water resource near the Pacific Palisades, was out of use for repairs when fires tore through Los Angeles neighborhood this week. Another thing that Trump claimed was that President Biden in a social media post claiming the current administration is leaving him with no money in FEMA. FEMA's disaster relief fund was rapidly dwindling last October after Hurricane Helene and a series of major disasters, but Biden signed a bill in December that added $29 billion to the fund. On Wednesday, the agency told CNN that they approximately had $27 billion left in the disaster relief fund. In a time of need, when there is a tremendous amount of pain, when there is so much suffering happening, right-wingers look to the issue and go, how can we use this to manipulate the public attitude? How can we use this crisis to basically get people tuned up with disinformation? Unlimited amounts of disinformation. It is crazy. NorCal resident here. This has been an issue for a long time. NorCal's always conserved water better than SoCal. 10 years ago when there was a drought, it was the same story. Hasanabi is correct in his assessment of the water issue. This is purely LA County and SoCal not managing themselves effectively, and right-wingers are taking advantage of that mismanagement just to fuck up the ecosystem so their golf course can be green. It is shocking to me that people can be so openly ruthless and so awful that they could just turn around and look at, entire cities being eviscerated by fire and go, how can we present this in the worst way possible through misinformation that we can get people tuned up and primed to advocate to make sure that there's more irrigation, more mismanagement of water so that we can have golf courses and more agribusiness in the region. That is legitimately gross. I don't know how else to describe it other than just it's gross.
Line of cars it is far. I had to stop walking. I had to return back to the truck because I couldn't get that far away from it. So that just speaks to how anxious people are to get to their homes, to check on things, to get things that they need. I spoke with one man who was here trying to get his son's medication, and that was earlier. Those were the only people they were letting in via escort. When that escort was here, were those to get medication or something important like that. Earlier, when we were on, you might have seen me speak with a woman who was also trying to do the same thing and just check on her home of 20 years. She's lived in this area 40 years, just concerned for her home and for the community around her. So that's the situation out here. Again, it is moving, albeit very, very slowly as people try to go back and check on their homes and their property.
Zach, I've noticed 2 people had to be turned around and left the area. What's the litmus test for being able to go in? You wait all that way and then you're turned away. What's the litmus test to be allowed in?
Okay, so here's how it's working. So they're looking, let me have you, Alex, show that second.
They're checking people's IDs to see if they have identification or any sort of paperwork that proves that they're from the region because they're terrified of looters actually running into the area to steal stuff.
On camera, that'd be furthest to the left. And so they're looking at driver's license, trying to see where people are and then group them in, like I was saying earlier, to get people going at the same time in one area.
They are literally going to turn away people that live in this area if their driver's licenses don't show that they're from the area, just so you understand.
And like this media truck coming in right now has been through, so they might recognize them and let them through. But the first time you come in here as a member of the media, or maybe anybody else too, they are looking at our press badges very closely. They looked at our press badge and then they asked to see our driver's license. And let me tell you, they were looking at our names, they were looking closely at our pictures to let us in. And so you see that guy, he's been in here before, so they kind of know him already. And I just say that too, as I was saying yesterday and earlier today, they're being very serious about who they are letting in, because we know that the arrests have been made for people not following the curfew, or of course for people who are looting, which has been a major concern of so many of the residents that I've been speaking with. And it's also been the reason that so many people said that they would or have stayed back behind in their houses too, because they were concerned about looting. And so you just have to think, imagine somebody staying behind because they're concerned about looters, and then the unthinkable happens, a fire comes down, and that their life is at risk now because they're afraid of somebody taking advantage of this situation. But to those people, I am telling you that it is a very hardened perimeter around here. We can't guarantee that, your home won't be looted, but they are taking this very seriously from what we can see here on the ground, and for us to even come in. We have a big, huge huge news truck. We're, to me, at least, very obvious media just by our vehicle, but they still checked our badges and our identification, and we had no problem showing that because we know how serious the situation is and how concerned residents are about looters or anything else going on around their property. Whether it's standing or not, these residents are concerned, and they're also very anxious to get in. Now, this...
Bro, I'm not kidding when I say this is disorder and more... This is more of a clear indication that we are at the verge of societal collapse. A normal, functioning, civilized society would not have these issues. You only have these fears, okay, when there is an unimaginable amount of wealth inequality, where people are so starving and so desperate that they're literally doing the most inhumane thing you can do, taking advantage of a natural disaster like this. And I also personally think that they're greatly overemphasizing the dangers of looting in an effort to do propaganda, in an effort to show that the National Guard and the police are actually valuable resources. Meanwhile, you got the actual valuable resources doing their very best to put out these fires, working around the clock. It's crazy. The disaster is natural to an extent. Wildfires are a natural disaster, chatter. That's crazy. Like, I think that's the other issue here with fires. People always immediately think of like arson and structural fires, not realizing that no, wildfires are a natural disaster in the same way that a hurricane is. There are methods of prevention, but you can't 100% eradicate it. If that was the case, Australia would never have a wildfire season. Okay? Like if that was the case, there wouldn't be a wildfire season. You can harden your infrastructure ahead of time to try and ensure to make sure that you max out on defenses to ensure that the damage is as marginal as possible. But yeah, obviously wildfires are still a natural disaster. Black residents whose homes have been burnt down are being detained and harassed by the LAPD in Altadena. Yeah, I heard about this as well. Hasanabi, you can say this is a natural disaster. We're also seeing global warming is increasing the occurrences and severity. People are trying to outwoke you. No, I think people don't understand. I think because most of the fire that you see or experience in normal conditions is just like a structural fire, you know what I mean? Like a gas leak or something. So they just don't think that it's like a natural disaster. It's understandable. They don't think about it like in the same way that they do about an earthquake or a hurricane. That's what it is. Because if you don't live in an area, where there are wildfire seasons, it's pretty hard to comprehend. The only thing you see is an electrical fire, a structural fire, a gas leak, things of that nature. Not realizing that, like, no, there is, this is a natural disaster. Okay. Before we get to, I guess we can talk about the looting now as well. Here.
For looters out here, they have already arrested nearly 24 people inside evacuation areas. The National Guard has been brought in to bolster security, and some people have gone back home to try to defend what they have left. Chris Van Cleef has that from Altadena.
The sense of loss in Altadena is hard to describe. Destruction is everywhere. And then this island of 6 seemingly untouched homes saved by Pete Villani, who stayed behind to fight back the massive firestorm.
These are all my friends. These are all,
Once again, there's like 18 million people, and they've arrested, not charged, not convicted, just simply arrested under the suspicion of looting, 20 people. They say nearly 24 because the number is 20 so far. Okay? 20.
We're a family here. I love my neighbors. And it's like, you feel guilty because I survived. I couldn't save the whole block.
But even as he worked to put out hotspots, another threat emerged: looters. He says he and a neighbor have chased off 2 groups attempting to break into the homes still standing.
What kind of person, what kind of human being would take advantage of somebody at that point? It's just like, I don't even want to say what I would do, but it's shocking.
Did you worry about your safety when you confronted the folks trying to get in that house?
No. I will say this. It would have been a bad day for them to do anything.
Do you feel like you're defending your neighborhood now?
Yep. That's why I'm here. This is why I stayed.
He's still standing watch even as the National Guard's armored vehicles are blocking evacuated neighborhoods and police are ramping up patrols.
Looting has zero tolerance. Looting or exploiting in the disaster areas will not be tolerated. Anybody caught looting or committing crimes in the affected area.
Like, I hope everybody understands, like, looting in a situation like this is completely unacceptable, okay? It is psychotic. Make no mistake, okay? Yeah, you have to be a real freak in dire circumstances to just be like, oh yeah, time for some free stuff. I'm gonna put my life at risk to go into smoldering ashes in these neighborhoods to secure like jewelry or I don't know, like a TV or something. Okay, it is completely unacceptable. Everybody understands this. My point on this, my point when I cover this stuff is not necessarily to say looting is good, you should let it happen, even though many right-wingers will hear what I'm saying and immediately say, look at Hasan, he loves theft. Okay? My point is that the media greatly overemphasizes these stories for two reasons. One, because it is a panic narrative of crime that people are predisposed with, that people love laser focusing on. If it bleeds, it leads. And the other reason why they do it is because this justifies the additional police presence. That way you don't think about why we're giving so much money to the cops and taking away money from firefighters. Even in a time when there is a massive wildfire, the media will always maintain this posture. Okay? Does the media portray anti-looting propaganda during hurricanes? Of course they do. Of course they do. Yes, they do this after every natural disaster. It's additionally crazy to do it after a wildfire, though, because like the fires are still going, it's still blazing through half of these neighborhoods when they're like, it didn't, bro. The Pacific Palisades was still on fire when the new district attorney went to his sister's destroyed house in the Pacific Palisades to cut a video talking about how he's going to kill looters. It's like, bro, you're standing in front of your sister's burned down house, and that's what you got on your mind. You're like, oh, if you try to come here to my sister's burned down house, like, I'll freaking kill you. Looting narratives go crazy. They're protecting us from imaginary looters. Do you remember the news during Katrina? Yeah. Katrina was particularly deadly because people did actually, quote unquote, take matters in their own hands, and they just started shooting random black people under the suspicion that they were looting. Okay? Luckily, it hasn't gotten to that degree here in California, Los Angeles. Woke California hasn't started doing that yet. But of course, the more people hit these like looter lines, the more people panic about this sort of thing, the higher the likelihood that you could potentially go to jail or be detained or arrested for the crime of trying to go back to your house while also being a black person or while also being a brown person or, not looking the neighborhood profile, you know? Yeah. The Leos in the evac zone are standing around waiting for looters with boosted funding. The firefighters bust their asses with diminished resources and reduced funding, and the slaves make $20 to work 24 hours in the trenches. Exactly. I think there is a real reason for why police and even the National Guard must create a security perimeter around these disaster zones. Okay? That I get that. You do that specifically so that you can open up pathways for emergency vehicles in times of need. You can do that, or you must do that, to ensure that random people don't go back to their houses, and then that becomes an additional problem for the emergency services to deal with because now you have to rescue people. Okay? That makes sense. You can just say that and, be perfectly fine, but they have to overemphasize the looting aspect. Okay? They have to consistently talk about how they're going to blow away any looter that even looks in the direction of a house, no matter how smoldering. Okay?
Will be arrested and prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law.
This was the view from Jonathan Esham's home Tuesday as the Eaton fire raced towards it.
Almost what I would say.
Yeah, people needed supplies to survive because National Guard couldn't reach them. It fueled people taking the law into their own hands on top of spooking cops with the rhetoric. It contributed to killings like the Danziger Bridge tragedy. This is in Katrina, the famous Danziger Bridge tragedy, where they just straight up shot like a bunch of black people under the suspicion that they were looting. I think this is dangerous and irresponsible by local and national news media to consistently heighten the tensions in times where people are already in crisis.
The surface of the sun might look like, you know, it was just pure chaos and panic everywhere.
He evacuated, and while the fire stayed out, it appears someone tried to break in, busting out a window and trying to pry this one open.
The idea that somebody could have been in your house while you guys were evacuated.
It's horrifying. Like, I don't even want to imagine it.
A horror disgustingly man-made in the middle of this massive natural disaster. For CBS Saturday Morning, I'm Chris Van Cleve in Altadena, California.
Jesus Christ. Oh my God. The California mom that intercepted Gavin went on Fox News. Oh my God. Oh my, I'm not even going to watch this. Okay. Oh my God. Every once in a while, conservative media latches onto a story that leans left/populist, and it's always just surface level. They don't dig deeper, lol. Yeah, obviously, their job is to still redirect the anxieties and frustrations into more appropriate targets.
In LA, if you survived the fire, congrats. This is round 2. This is threat number 2. Threat number 1 was the fire. It's slowing down. Great. Do not relax. There's no time for tears yet. No crying, no nothing. This is game time because human beings are the apex predator. People are aware. Cops, nobody's responding to crimes right now. Everything is going to be covered.
What? What is going on here?
And overlooked by this whole fire that's happening. People are already breaking into businesses, breaking into houses, harming other people, unaliving other people because nobody's going to take the time. There's too much happening for people to look at. Oh, this person's not breathing no more. Was it a red rum or was it the devastation? There's too many things to be focused on. All crime, no one's there to help you right now. So protect you and yours at all costs. And I mean all costs. All that.
Bro, what is happening in the minds of people on TikTok? It's like wild seeing a dude who's like 30 plus years old saying unaliving and red rum. Okay, TikTok language is just like infiltrated the brains of rotted the brains of so many people. But also, this guy has 1.7 million likes on this TikTok talking about like how there is a murder and cannibalism happening in every corner of Los Angeles right now, and the cops know about it and they're not doing anything to prevent it. What an insane statement. Meanwhile, the Supreme Court seems likely to uphold a law that could ban TikTok in the United States of America. And when I see stuff like this, I become reactionary myself and say, oh, good, please. It's crazy.
That fucking pent up bullshit that everybody got from 2024, you want to crash the fuck out, save it. You about to need it. This is not a time to relax. This is not a time to chill out. This is about to become a fight for resources. And you're also going to be dealing with people in the society of LA. All these homeless people been waiting for their moment. This is their time to shine. They're already breaking into houses, businesses, stealing. People.
This guy used to be so nice. What happened? Like, I remember this guy having like a relatively normal attitude about things and being like kind of like a funny guy. What is going on right now?
Setting more fires just because they want to watch this shit go down. So keep in mind, the fire going away is threat number 1. I'm happy if you survived. I'm so goddamn sorry everybody's in this goddamn position. It's the worst thing that can happen. But this is threat number 2. This is the one you really got to pray to make it the out of. And when I say protect you and yours at all costs, I mean at all costs, because their crimes are kind of free for all. But if you got to do what you got to do, everybody's kind of free. This is all alleged also, because I'm making this video. But everybody there, you know what the is really going on. You know what to do. So do not hesitate to do it. And the other thing, women, stick the together. Be as vicious as you have to be. Nobody can respond to a crime call right now. Cops can't get down the road to nobody. If men want to come.
Dude, what? Is this guy in LA? There's no way he's in Los Angeles, right? Because I live here. I'm fairly close to some of the fires. What the hell is this guy talking about, bro? The roads are closed and whatnot. What are you? What is happening right now? What are these people saying? There's like roving gangs of homeless people that are looking to do unalivings. What is, dude, this kind of stuff. If you look outside, what do you see? It's just a normal city. Dude, like the night of the Sunset Fire, there was definitely a panicked environment. Understandable. Okay. 100%. But the notion that there's like mass murders occurring on the streets with cops refusing to respond to calls, like all this stuff. What the hell are you talking about? This. Tana Mojo, this. Why does this sound horribly like The Purge in a way? Stop giving them ideas. We were taught this in my emergency management program. Fend yourself in the first 72 hours. You're like the big brother who doesn't want to be mean, but definitely says what we need to hear. My military husband said the same thing yesterday. These are facts. Why does he make so freaking sense? Whoop ass girls and ladies, shoot first, ask no questions later. When he said be as vicious as you can be, babe, I got chills. Bro, what is happening right now? Bro, we dead ass live like 10 minutes away and my mom would believe this bullshit. It ain't just people not from around here. No, I know. That's the craziest part. That is the craziest part about mind melting, because we spent so much time online that the reality outside of your door is no longer important. Okay. What is important is what they're saying online. It ends up literally breaking the brains of people that are directly in the impacted area. It is crazy. And I don't know how you deal with that. Like, what do you mean? Look outside, man. I walked my dog this morning. Okay. The hell are you talking about? Mass gangs doing mass murders or whatever. Like, what a crazy LARP, dude. This is being read as female empowerment. I know American minds are so warped that you can have like a supposedly liberal progressive guy talk in the exact same way that like libertarian gun nuts do. Okay. But then couch it under female empowerment and girls will be like, that's right, ladies. Think like them to counter them. It's sad, but some people help and some people take advantage when disaster strikes because they see opportunities. I don't think Shaq can fully comprehend how badly crime panic has broken Californians' brains. Yeah, I mean, I've been warning about this for a while. I've been warning about this non-stop, talking about how like people in California have lost their minds, where they think like he lives in Texas. Then why is he talk? This is insane, dude. It's actually insane. It's insane.
Come in your house and overpower you, or men want to catch you and find you. What you gonna do? There's no one to call, there's no one to help. So when I say life or death, and it's your life or your death, so act accordingly. This is not over, and there's no time to cry yet. Not yet.
1.7 million likes, bro. 1.7 million likes. This is so nutty. This is the same guy who made a video about how he was so upset over the breakup. He said he made a plan to murder his ex. Yeah, I mean, I don't care about like all of the other TikTok drama that this guy was associated with. I care about specifically what he's talking about right now. Apparently an incredibly popular narrative on TikTok. I love how it's always guys in suburban McMansions talking like this is Hotel Rwanda. Yeah. A complete societal collapse has taken place in Los Angeles. Okay. Do not look outside. I'm literally doing DoorDash in Pasadena right now. I don't know what the he's talking about. People like this want it to be real so bad. They've been waiting for an apocalypse. Yeah. Like that's the craziest thing. Like, yo, the municipality picked up trash yesterday. Okay. What are you guys talking about? Like, what are you talking about? I just don't understand what, like, how do you fantasize about like ultra violence taking place somewhere else? I'm there. Okay. I'm in the neighborhood. I'm going to tell you right now, these people are out of their minds. All right. He sounds like he's threatening people. What happens when a guy comes to your house or hurt you, overpower you? No one call for help. Is me? I'm the guy. No, you were worried about that trash pickup. No, I'm just using that as an example, as a point of reference to showcase that, like, one, Los Angeles is massive. And two, like, obviously certain parts, areas that are not impacted by the wildfires immediately are still operating in the normal ways that they are operating. That's it. Probably Kai ate 2 looters today and you're covering up this narrative. Yeah. So a mansion can burn and that is good? What are you talking about? Did I even say anything like that? I'm literally in downtown LA. It's so peaceful compared to normal. People are helping each other all the time. So many organizations, places doing free food, charity, and donations. Yeah. Chad Crowley is blaming DEI for societal collapse. Who's Chad Crowley? An illiberal riding the tiger? Let's talk about the collapse. Fires rage in Los Angeles and no one can put them out. A clear symbol of a civilization unable to solve even its most basic problems. Joseph A. Tainter's The Collapse of Complex Societies provides a framework to understand why this happens. Civilizational collapse is no relic. Yeah, okay. While I do agree with civilizational collapse as a narrative, I understand that the reasons as to why there is a civilizational collapse is because of capitalism and not because of like some random nonsense like DEI or whatever. But these guys are so desperate not to recognize what the truth is that these guys are so desperate to not recognize what the truth is that it's like they have to claim that it's modern institutions prioritize demographic representation over merit. Oh. Hasta masnala. I hate to break it to you, but if TikTok is banned, it'll only get worse. The plan is to sell it to Kevin O'Leary. Get ready for the most right-wing brain rot propaganda platform I've ever seen. Thanks, Joe. Yeah. Local LA news is, of course, pushing the looter narrative too.
Just getting my whole family out. All you have in your mind is just you're in survival mode at that point. I saw men coming into our neighborhoods.
Oh my God, local news. Why are you doing this, bro? Oh my Lord. Hundreds of... This is Tyler Oliveira coverage coming from KTLA.
Police confirmed it. She had this to say. Take a listen.
It was wild. We just started seeing all these cars pull up, doors open, and groups of men running up our street, going up to the doors of these houses. And we weren't sure what was going on. I'm thinking, are these people here to help my neighbors? I hope so. And I left, and then my husband talked to the police and said, what are those guys doing? These guys don't live here. Get them out. My next door neighbor said, his quote, there were like 100 people that came up on scooters and were trying to get into any and all houses on the street.
And did you physically see police officers stopping them?
I didn't, but...
I don't know what to say, man. I don't know what to say.
It's not to say that they weren't. It was so incredibly chaotic, and I was so worried about my big family and getting them out of our old tinderbox of a house that I was just focused on them first.
There were dozens of scooter gangs, dude. They're doing it. It's like every Treatlerite suburbanite with like high levels of paranoid schizophrenia is now sitting in front of a microphone talking about their fantasies. Once again, I'm not discounting the notion that there might be, you know, opportunists trying to take advantage of the situation in areas that were evacuated but not impacted immediately by fires. Okay? Having said that, the notion that there are hundreds of people on scooters ravaging the lands is so psychotic, dude. It is so... Don't think about climate issues. Think about the looters. Looters don't live here. People that don't live near you are bad. Yeah, exactly. She is a CNN producer. Oh my God. Dude, people have their phones on them nonstop. People take videos of everything they see. Were the videos of this happening to an extent? Yeah, so far the only videos I've seen of the looting that's occurring is the one guy that was apprehended that the police said they did not have enough evidence to suggest that he was actually an arsonist. And the other video that I've seen is a bunch of black people in Altadena evacuating their homes and helping their neighbors take out important stuff from their houses, which was being presented on Twitter as though it was, you know, scary black people looting homes. I've yet to see videos directly from these areas, from this, you know, everybody's got a phone on them, I'm sure. And the thing is, I'm sure that there is, I'm sure that this can happen, you know. The problem is, even with the likelihood of this happening, there still is, you know, nothing that I've seen thus far. Marauding gangs of scooters that seemingly are Guatemalan of descent too. A lot of people also don't understand that, like, you know, the fire is more impactful than just like losing your shelter, which is obviously devastating, right? Your life is completely destabilized at that point. But more importantly than that, you lose remnants of your humanity, things that tie you to your loved ones, you know, your prized possessions. Like, this is where you keep all of your things. Okay. It's not just your paperwork. You can replace that, but there are irreplaceable things that you have in your house, you know, things that were left behind from your loved ones that no longer are with you, you know, things that connect you to them. John Mayer actually had a really good point on this. And I reposted it on my Instagram. Hold on. I'm going to pull it up real quick. I think it was really good. Where is it? Oh, here it is. Here's what he said. This is the most valuable thing I own. It's a folder of photos of my father, spanning his life from being a baby, an educator, a husband, and a father. It's the only evidence of his life that will exist over time. These are the documents you read about people taking from their homes. When you hear someone say they've lost everything in a fire, this is much of that everything, if not all of it. Those who say they'll be okay still have their folders and their albums. Those who are inconsolable have lost them. Just behind the immeasurable loss of life is the loss of the proof of life. I don't practice prayer, but tonight I will say one for everyone who no longer has these items. It's not about the art and the collectibles. It's the photos, the letters, the class rings, the eyeglasses, and the things that we keep us, the things that we keep to remind us that those we loved were here. May those who have lost so much find some semblance of hope and support from their family and friends. Stay safe, look out for one another and yourself, and trust that humanity and all it entails, though sometimes hard to see, is alive and well. This is truly devastating. It's true. Like, when your house burns down in a fire, a lot of people immediately start thinking like, oh, well, you know, you're devoid of shelter. But like, outside of the material realities, there is something immaterial, something infinitely more consequential for a lot of people. Things that remind them of their loved ones, you know, that are no longer with them. Like all of these cherished possessions. It's you know, it's genuinely devastating. People don't realize that after the fire's over, there's a grueling, awful process that takes years sometimes to get these houses rebuilt. Yeah, just verifying who owns what is a whole nightmare, and then insurance companies come in before you're allowed to even go into the homes. That's just the start. Yes, there's also opportunists at every step. There are opportunists that have already started the real looting process, okay? People who are, one, trying to immediately offer cash for the existing lots in people's weakest moments, okay? That's number one. Number two, you have price gougers in the rental market. Come February 1st, this is going to be a gigantic problem in Los Angeles. If it's not combated adequately, you will see the housing market go out of control even more than it was, okay? You are going to see the real looting, not the poor people that are messing around or are you know, trying to take advantage of the crisis to steal a television or something, okay? The real looting will happen at the point of banks, private equity, and the real estate market, okay? That is where the real looting will occur. The real looting will also occur on the insurance side as well. Just remember that. But you will not hear that. You will never hear about that in the news, okay? They'll maybe begrudgingly point to it every now and then. And it's already started, especially because the Pacific Palisades is like a relatively well-off neighborhood. A lot of the surrounding areas that have homes intact, single-family homes intact, are putting up rental properties that are double the already inflated rental market prices. If a single family home for like 6 people to 8 people is going for $10,000 a month normally, which is already insanely inflated, right? Now it's going for $30,000 a month. I've seen it.
And you see the ash on the cars. Yep. You see it everywhere, and this is so toxic. We spoke again to a health expert and a doctor about the unhealthy, very dangerous air quality actually outside, particularly for those who have any upper respiratory issue.
The fires haven't even been put down, and there's still people doing craziness
if you have some kind
like
of
that.
disease, this is just detrimental. And if you don't, this can certainly cause those kinds of things. So we encourage you to limit your activity outside. Just get in your car and go and get to where you need to go. I had a call from my son's coach about basketball practice, and I said, no, absolutely not. unless you're inside in a gym. This is just very bad air quality all across the board, not just where the fires are burning, but across SoCal from Ventura South into Orange County, the Inland Empire. I heard you talk about the most destructive and the cost. I looked up these numbers here. Camp Fire is where we go, right, with the #1 deadliest, costliest fire in the state of California. And that burned, over 18 structures, almost 20,000 structures. Eaton Fire is the second one with 7,000 structures right now. Tubbs Fire in 2017, you might remember that. Palisades now, I added the 1 because we saw with our very own eyes as it burned that home.
Yep.
So over 5,000 structures, but some preliminary estimates, which, by the way, the Camp Fire, they've been talking about maybe $12.5 billion.
Yeah, and that's Paradise for people that may be more familiar with that town of Paradise that was basically wiped off the map in that moment.
So many, hundreds of people died in that fire. They've adjusted for inflation at something like $12.5 billion. But now when we talk about the Palisades fire, where you see those multi-million-dollar homes, I mean, just the fires together, they're saying some estimates of 150 billion, potentially, dollars lost in these fires. So it's just staggering.
Yeah.
Staggering.
It is. I tried to get a specific answer from Governor Newsom on that, and he said it's way too early to tell, and if we start throwing around numbers, everybody's just sort of guessing. But he said, because he had been to the Camp Fire at Paradise with President Trump, the head of CAL FIRE I talked to also yesterday had been to the Camp Fire, and they both said that what you see in Pacific Palisades is actually worse. When you look at the scope of it, that it's the worst fire that they've ever been to.
Wow.
And in terms of just the scene and how upsetting it is to see it up close.
I have, I'm from Hawaii. You guys know that. I've had some messages naturally from my friends in Hawaii, and they are triggered right now, especially when you think about the Maui fire and the Lahaina fire. And they're just also triggered, and of course they're all worried for our safety. We have such a huge
She said
connection.
don't play basketball. Chat, I looked up the AQI, okay?
And they
I
just
didn't play basketball this morning without looking up the air quality index. Calm down.
Devastation, which continues. Look at these fires. The winds are going to get stronger. We talked about that. This is sort of that window where the winds are not so bad. They're definitely gusty at times, and there's definitely pockets of some stronger gusts that are coming in. And we're under this wind advisory. This portion right here, the Palisades fire, parts of the Santa Monica Mountains, extending into the San Gabriel Mountains. That includes the Eaton fire. These winds are coming out of the northeast, and they are gusting closer to between 40, 45 miles per hour. Now, later tonight, at 6 p.m., we are anticipating a slightly stronger, at least the start of some stronger winds, and high wind warnings will be going into effect in this area here. So firefighters I know are considering that, and there's a strategic plan, I'm sure. They're the best in the country here, if not the world, and they are, they had some backfires earlier.
Let's talk now more about the strategy. Eric Scott, the captain with the LA Fire Department, is joining us live on the phone right now. Thank you for your tireless work on this. We appreciate the daily Okay, apparently we just lost his phone signal, Maria. As we know, phone signal in this area are so challenging.
Yeah, Captain Eric Scott working tirelessly since the beginning. We talked to him when this started Tuesday morning, when it erupted, when the winds were just beginning to get strong. And I remember him saying how, if you see something, say something, because if you do not extinguish a fire or get to it within the first 20 minutes with the weather conditions we were in, it was going to explode.
Wait, are fires still happening? Yes, brother. They haven't stopped at all. Isn't Southern California naturally supposed to be a desert? I heard that they're taking water from the north and that it dries the north. True. It is, yes, there are parts of California that are a desert. Yes. Okay. So, here, I'll cover this as well. This is just, this is just the beginning of thread. Let me try to lay out what next 3 months is going to look like for the homeowners in LA who have lost everything in the fires. But before we do that, here is Fran, okay, talking about the impact this has had on her and her community.
This is your house?
This is my house. This one right here.
We moved in 26 years ago. And we did the floors, and we put in windows and doors and painted and just put, my grandchildren loved it. My son and my daughter-in-law, my family, we hosted Christmas Eve and Christmas Day here, and everybody was here. My little house that I loved. My husband just had his 4th cancer surgery. I poured everything into it. My nephew.
I'm so sorry.
I know.
I really am. I don't even know what to say.
That's okay. I don't even know what I'm doing. I'm just. We haven't been sleeping. We haven't slept. We're staying at a hotel. We have nowhere to go. We don't know what we're doing. We were close neighbors. Buzz and Todd. His mom passed away and they took over the house. John just lost his wife that he adored, but was taking care of that house. She was a Superior Court judge. And Beverly and John, so much love. She was so incredible. And the house is gone.
I just can't believe they're all gone. Like
they're all gone. See, Debbie and us and Tina, our children went to school together from kindergarten. Our kids are in their 47 years old. And Debbie's 47-year-old son tragically passed away last August. Her oldest child. Her grief is so deep, I can't imagine.
My rental home in Florida was destroyed by Milton. Not looking for sympathy, just providing context of the LA residents. I did not sign up for a natural disaster, nor do I have any experience dealing with them. The initial loss of property is just the beginning. Newsom now needs to get FEMA coordinated because step 1 is access and assessment. After Milton, there were homes in the middle of the road, a road that have 5 feet of sand covered in some places and debris everywhere. My property was located in a place that was protected by the National Guard. No one was legally allowed to even see the home for 5 days. Everything's a mystery until you get to your home. How bad is it? Everything you have to do at this point is a hassle. Where do you stay? How do you rent a car? If I really want a pickup truck, why are there only electric cars available to rent? It's difficult to know where to begin. Okay, this stuff is random Twitter threads. It's my fault for even reading it. Okay, I wanted to just show you that video, but the thing I wanted to point to you, the thing that I want to point out is that like the crisis will get significantly worse for people who have been impacted. Because now they have a secondary crisis of tremendous amount of paperwork and the rebuilding process, okay? And in that process, there are going to be some real looters. A lot of people look to the situation and go, oh, looters are actually going to come down and take advantage of this chaotic situation to steal the valuable possessions of people who have been fortunate enough not to be super impacted by these wildfires, that have their entire homes be burned into the ground. But the real looters are actually the predatory insurance companies that are going to do everything in their power to not pay you out, even though you gave them money, knowing full well that if the unthinkable happened, that you would be covered, okay? The real looters are going to be real estate developers, private equity that come in and look to your most vulnerable moment and offer you like below market rates for the plot of land where your home used to remain, okay? Where the remains of your home are. They're going to try to seize as much of the real estate marketplace as fast as they possibly can, okay? They're going to lowball you. This also plays along with the insurance companies because the insurance companies are working to maximize their profits. And in a crisis like this, they're, going to only be able to do that by refusing all of your claims. And in that weak and desperate moment, you are going to have to make a very difficult decision. Do I just sell off my land instead of the tumultuous rebuilding process? The other looters are going to be the landlords, because you hopefully have a little bit of money, right, on the side. Insurance will kick in to pay your rent, for example, if you're fortunate enough. And the people that own numerous properties know that. So they will raise the price of rent. Market conditions. Okay? That is the real looting that will take place. But that looting is invisible. That looting is only done through the normal process of capitalism, profit-seeking entities, faceless, lifeless corporations doing that looting. So instead of focusing on that looting, wood houses is crazy. Okay, what's really silly about this is that California is a earthquake region, okay? Wood houses are not crazy. Concrete also burns, chatter, just so you understand. And considering that it is a earthquake-prone region, yes, wood houses are a more hardened defense against that sort of thing instead of concrete. That's the reason why these houses are built with wood. It's not because it's like they wanted to, be caught light on. They wanted to be lit on fire. My house wasn't burned down, but I've still been impacted by the fires. I worked for LAUSD as a tutor, and before this, we had a month off work unpaid, and I really needed this next paycheck, but now school is canceled. My next paycheck has been pushed back even more. I can't imagine what I'd do if my house had burned down. Yeah. Anyway,